So today we're talking about the 7th way to thrive in challenging times, and that is to get out of the box. So our 7th way is get out of the box. So what do I mean by getting out of the box? That could mean lots of different things. But sometimes getting through a challenging time requires us to back up a little bit and take a different approach, right? And so that means we got to be creative and innovative and come up with new and different ways of doing things, approaching things. Inside Coaching Week, we talked about all the ways that the market has changed and how we need to evolve and adapt our business to stay relevant and current. And so sometimes just getting through a challenging time needs a different approach. So what I wanted to give you is some ideas on how you can get some fresh ideas flowing. I know as a creative business, as a marketing agency, we're a creative business, and sometimes it flows and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes we just got to be intentional about getting ourselves in a different space so that we can think through the problems. And so I just wanted to give you, I got 15 ideas. I'm all about the lists, as you might know. So number 1 on my list is ask your kids. When you got a problem that you can't figure it out, ask your kids. They have a different mindset for things, right? They tend to break through all the chaos surrounding a problem and are able to focus in on the obvious, and sometimes it just escapes us. So if you can explain the thing that you're trying to figure out to your kids, you might be surprised what they come up with. They sometimes we overthink it. So kids, number 1. Number 2, reframe the problem so anyone can understand it. And you could tie this into number 1 even. If you can explain this, if you change the way you're explaining the problem or framing the problem in such a way that even your kids can understand it, that might give you the new perspective that you need, the clarity on that. Number 3, think about if you were a brand new business startup. How would I approach this? Sometimes we get in that mode of doing things, that we do things the way we do them because we've always done them that way, right? So sometimes if we just back up and say, okay, if I was approaching this from the perspective of a brand new business where you didn't have all these other things already in place, would I approach it different? Would I do it a different way? So sometimes that can give you a different perspective. Number 4, figuring out the why. Why did you do it that way? So, what I just said in the earlier point, because we've always done it that way, that's a bad answer. So think it through like, okay, why do we do it this way? Number 5, learn something new. Sometimes we can't figure out a new and a different approach to something because we don't have all the information. We don't have the knowledge or the skill set to do it. So maybe just go take a class, do some learning, ask around, learn something new. That's a great way to adjust our mindset. The 6th way, brainstorm. My favorite activity of all time, brainstorming. Lots of different ways to do that. Solo brainstorming. We have classes inside the Time to Thrive Mastermind that teach solo brainstorming, because a lot of times as a business owner, we don't have anyone we can brainstorm certain things with. Some things we can brainstorm with our team, or maybe you're a solopreneur, you don't have a team. So solo brainstorming is important, but if you do have a team, you can definitely brainstorm with your team. Number 7, mind map, which is kind of a part of a brainstorming, or it's a brainstorming technique, mind mapping, but it is something you can do real quick and easy. Piece of paper and a pen and go to town. If you're not sure what mind mapping is, it's basically the idea of putting a central idea or theme in a circle in the middle of your paper and then creating branches off that idea. So I have a mind map on my board right now that I made the other day. So definitely is a great way to kind of get your ideas down on paper and help you go deeper into those ideas and those pieces of the idea. Another way that you can get fresh ideas flowing is read a book. I like listening to books myself, just because I don't have a lot of time to sit down with physical books, so I will listen to books in the car when I'm driving. Okay, number 9, do the opposite of what is expected. So if something's expected, do the opposite. This is actually a brainstorming technique called reversing. So where you brainstorm the opposite of the goal that you're looking for. So think about things in reverse. Sometimes will kind of give you a fresh perspective. Number 10, be open to the possibilities. If we're just so stubborn that we're just stuck in our ways, that's we're probably not going to have too many new ideas. So be open to the possibilities. Number 11, maintain some margin in your schedule. Speaking to myself here. 3 years ago, my word for the year was margin, just because I didn't have any. And so I had to be very intentional. And by margin, what I mean is we have a capacity, right? Physically, it's impossible, mentally impossible for us to go beyond this capacity. So if we run at capacity all the time and something happens, as it will, it's not a matter of if, it's when, right? If we have something that happens, we have nowhere to expand because we're already running at our capacity. So we have to be intentional about creating margin, and margin basically is shrinking in. So now we have a circle inside our circle, right? The bigger circle being our capacity, and the smaller circle being what we, how we operate on a daily. And then that gives us a buffer, right? Because now we can move in and out, and we're not going into crisis mode because we're being pushed beyond what we can physically do. So maintaining margin in the schedule, it helps me so much with work-life balance to operate that way. Okay, another way that you can get a fresh idea is change your environment. Work from home one day, or work on the back porch. I do that sometimes. Go to the library, go to a coffee shop, just get a change of environment. Sometimes that just gives you, can kind of get the creative juices flowing again. Number 13, study another industry for ideas you can adapt. So you could do this with Google, which that's kind of boring, but what if you take someone in a different industry to lunch and just ask them questions about their industry, how they approach things, all of that. That could give you some fresh and new ideas. Number 14, aim for quantity, not quality. I know that doesn't sound right, but it is right, because sometimes what we're doing is we're being so critical of things up front, of our ideas or thoughts that we have up front. We're so critical of them, and we're already, we have this fresh idea, and then we attack it, to say, well, is this going to work? Is this, does this make sense? We're already just getting in there and analyzing the death out of that poor thing, and it's just this new baby idea. And we need to let it take flight a little bit before we do that. So one way to do that is to come up with lots and lots and lots of different ideas and not worry about the critical analyzing of them until later. Once we have a big bowl of ideas, we can see how they might fit together, how we can adapt them, Maybe this idea, in its current form doesn't work, but maybe we can shave the edges off it or tweak it a little bit and make it work some other way. So don't cut yourself down by taking one fresh idea and then just, analyzing it till it has no life left in it at all. Just let the ideas flow. Go for quantity instead of quality, at least for the outset, because right then you're not trying to figure all of that out. Number 15, if all else fails, take a shower. For real. Sometimes you can do your best thinking in the shower, and I'll just leave that right there. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you, because it kind of fits in here, I love out-of-the-box ideas. As an agency, we kind of pride ourselves on finding elbow grease solutions. Those things that don't cost a lot of money. So they're a little bit outside the box in terms of thinking. So I wanted to share with you some free or low-cost ideas that a lot of businesses can use in order to grow their business without spending a lot of money. During a challenging time, that is so important. Okay, so my first idea is create a cross promotion with a company that targets the same audience as you. Because why the same audience? Because you can't really connect with somebody who you compete with. So you need somebody who has the same audience, that you're both trying to reach the same people, but you don't compete with them. So let me give you an example. Let's say you were a eyeglass store. Okay, so you sell eyeglasses. So maybe you partner with a bookstore, and you could do a bookmark, right? So it's a bookmark that says, on one side it's the bookstore, and the other side it's your eyeglass store, or your optical center, or whatever. So maybe each of the companies can put them in their location, right? So like the bookstore could maybe put it, at checkout, and maybe it has something on it says that if you're having trouble reading this, come see us at, right? And then in the optical store, maybe the bookmark would be over by the readers, or something like, in a display like that. But you kind of get where I'm going. I mean, there's so many great ideas. So this is something you can brainstorm and come up with, and if there's any cost associated with something like that, like printing the bookmarks, you can share the cost. So it creates a really low cost idea, but mostly it's about creating some sort of affinity. I actually have one of our marketing clients right now has created a huge group of affiliated companies that all work kind of in the same arena as him, but none of them do what he does. And he has created a cross promotion with all of these entities, and they are all working to help each other. So, I mean, fantastic idea. Okay, my next idea. Build awareness for your business through events or campaigns designed to draw traffic. So giveaways where the entry mechanism is at your location. If you're trying to, get foot traffic into your business, you can do a giveaway on social media, but to enter, you have to come to the location. You could do a charity campaign where, a percentage of the proceeds go to a local charity, and it could be a charity that is maybe really good with their marketing efforts, and they have a really strong email list, a loyal following. And so you're, on a particular day, you give X percent of all your sales to that charity. And so that's a great way not only to drive traffic into your business, but also create awareness with a potentially new audience segment. So that's a great idea. You could do a charity partnership. We've all seen Toys for Tots, and they have different drop-off locations, or like the shoe boxes, where you can do the shoe boxes that they send overseas. So if you become a drop-off center or donation site for a charity like that, that can help drive traffic to your location of, again, another audience segment that maybe hasn't been in your store before. And another way you can do that is chamber networking. A lot of times they'll do the coffee and contacts and things like that. So if you have a physical brick and mortar location or an office location where you can host 20 people or so, that might be a great option for you to host one of those coffee and contact type networking events, because then again, you're getting people in through your doors and putting a spotlight on your business. So, all right, let's keep moving. Piggyback on somebody else's promotion. And so what I mean by that is kind of like, let's say you're in retail and you see that the big anchor store in your strip mall, the big anchor store and so you can piggyback on the fact that they're spending all these marketing dollars to drive traffic to their location, and you can come up with kind of a micro strategy to make people who are now coming into that location over to your business as well. So it's what we call a piggyback. So I'll just leave that there for you, whatever you do with that. Okay, another free or low cost idea, and this applies whether it's a product or a service. You can package things together. A lot of times people just don't have much imagination, and by putting it together for them, they kind of, they get the package. So sometimes they just need help seeing how things fit together. So a lot of times we'll see this at the holidays, right? We'll do special holiday gift baskets or packages. So think of it like that, where you're creating, and this could apply to services. It could be a package of services. So like I've seen HVAC companies do this as a annual maintenance, right? Where you pay like one price and they come twice a year to do your just check on your HVAC and AC and make sure it's working right before the season starts. So like that's where they've packaged the services. So that's a way that you can upsell existing customers, or create a larger sale of a new customer that then they might have bought just one service or product. If you package it, they have something you can upsell them to. All right, let's do one more. This one's easy peasy. But I'm always surprised by how the fact that we don't use it. Voicemail. Every contact that you have with a customer is an opportunity to sell them something, right? So check your voicemail. What does it say? Does it say connect with us on social media? We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. So it's an opportunity to communicate some of those things or behaviors that you want your customers to do. Is a great way to remind them. If you're running a promotion, you might want to change your voicemail so it includes information about that promotion. So, or on hold, it's while they're on hold, they're hearing about the current promotions. It's an opportunity to reinforce your brand. So if you have a tagline or something like that makes sense to use, you can incorporate it into your voicemail and or your on-hold messaging. You could do something fun with your voicemail. So you could do an unusual fact or a joke of the week. But the punchline you know, you can hold back some information, and maybe that's something they have to ask you about when they actually speak to you. So that's kind of fun too. Or you could put the answer to the joke on your website, so then you could drive traffic over there.